Hello, my name is Thor Kalistad. I'm the co-founder and the CEO of the Minocarbon Corporation. Welcome to our webcast, The Shift, where we spend a good bit of time focusing on discussions with pioneers in the regenerative agriculture and renewable carbon spaces. I'm honored today to be joined by Dr. Debbie Aller from Cornell University. Debbie, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. I was wondering if you could just get us kicked off by telling the viewers a little bit about your background.
Yeah, thanks so much, Thor, for having me. Super excited to be a part of the Shift podcast. I think it's great you're putting this together. But yeah, I'm Debbie Aller. I'm a senior extension associate at Cornell University. I've been working within the biochar space for about 14 years now, through my graduate studies and into my career work. And I'm a soil scientist by training, and been focusing on biochar as a soil amendment, and working directly with farmers for about 8 years now. I'm doing a lot around on-farm trials, and practical applications of biochar use in agriculture.
Okay, great. No, that's terrific. One question I had for you to kind of get us going is I know you've always been really interested in sort of the intersection between people and nature, and you've spent a bit of time in East Africa, studies in Edinburgh. Was wondering if you could just tell us a little bit about more of some of that journey that brought you here.
Yeah, so my kind of foray into biochar started in 2011, actually, when I was doing my master's at the University of Edinburgh in Scotland, and I had an opportunity to do my thesis work at the UKBRC, or the United Kingdom Biochar Research Centre, and that was my first introduction into biochar. And when I first learned about it, I was like, wow, what is this material? And it really helped me connect a lot of my interest areas, predominantly. While I was an undergraduate, I majored in environmental science and anthropology. So I was really and continue to be very interested in kind of these human environment interactions. So both kind of the natural and the social sciences, and how do these impact each other? And during my undergraduate studies, I had time to spend three summers, or actually probably over the course of 3 years, I spent about 8 months in East Africa, in Tanzania and Kenya specifically. And when I then learned about biochar, I really thought back to my time in East Africa and thinking about dry land subsistence agriculture, and really food security issues, and poverty and soil degradation, and things faced in a lot of these parts of sub-Saharan Africa, within the East African context, right? And I thought biochar potentially as a solution, to improve the soils in this environment, help improve food security and through crop production, and as a way that farmers, and others could produce a sustainable carbon product.
Oh, no, that's great. That's really interesting to hear, Debbie. One of the areas we really focused on is, especially initially at Mina, was in this, how to get the agronomic benefits of biochar. Just the data seems so clear to us of, how to really accelerate the uptake within the agricultural sector. And we've haven't been able to do it as well as we'd have hoped with your direct biochar sales into farmers. So we've looked at other alternatives about, how do you characterize the value of microbial interactions going on? Is compost a way in? Are liquids a way in? Really kind of can get innovative around that, the ability to show a good ROI for growers to start using it. I was just kind of curious if you saw any of the proverbial kind of early adopter sort of market applications, or where to what sort of channels might be the most promising to pursue into the ag space.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. It's definitely a complex topic, and I mean, agriculture is really one of the most promising sectors for utilizing biochar, and really that's where biochar came from, right? The idea of the Terra Preta de Indio soils in the Amazon, is really kind of the old technology behind this new technology of biochar, of continuous carbon additions to the soil that then lead to improvements in overall soil health. So in microbial populations, in soil fertility, in water holding capacity, and things like that. And so I think, we know there's benefit within the agricultural space, but I think over many years of research by people long before myself, and then many now today who are interested in this area, is that we have a much better understanding of biochars as a whole and soils and where biochars are likely to have an impact from a positive standpoint when it's applied to soil, right? And so I think one of the biggest things related to agriculture and in how we talk about biochar is that there are many different biochars out there, right? Biochar is made from many different sustainably sourced organic waste materials. And so biochar, the feedstock, depends on where we are in the country, potentially, or in the world. And so where I'm located in New York, we have a lot of woody waste biomass. But maybe out in California, there's a lot of almond husks, or down in the South, rice hulls, or manure is a potential feedstock in much of the country. And then thinking about the diversity of soils we have and how do we pair a certain biochar with a certain soil to potentially have the largest impact. And there's been a lot of progress made through various projects happening nationally at trying to help, or let's say decision support tools for farmers in better identifying with a biochar, will it have a potential for a positive impact on soil and crops in a given location. There's a decision support tool built into the USDA Web Soil Survey now. There's a large national biochar atlas project, and these are out there with the goal of better or supporting farmers to make more informed decisions around biochar and soil applications. And I think these are the tools that are really helping with the decision making and helping kind of bridge that gap, let's say, with the uncertainties and hopefully leading to more likely a better ROI through a biochar application.
That is good to hear. It also kind of tracks some of our selling experience, so to speak, in the space. Is that I think there's kind of been this, I'll call it the silver bullet problem, where I think a lot of what we've encountered, the distinction on biochar as being a plural thing is great. We've run into this where I think it's been a bit of this will solve all of your problems, and that's a little more complicated than that. We've seen in a lot of cases. So we've been doing it's good to hear a good bit of targeting, so to speak, for the right properties to the right soil types to the right cropping systems, which is show signs of changing the math around the ROIs for these growers, which is encouraging. But one of the other interesting things that you'll love to get your thoughts on is the issue of biosolids that have been used for fertilizers. We just starting to hear more and more about this. We've looked pretty heavily recently on moving into remediation markets, and we've been having a good bit of traction there. And what's interesting about this is it really brings them both together, it seems, solving this problem of biosolids. I was in Maine a couple of weeks ago, and it was really the topic du jour from anybody you talk to in this space. So I was wondering if you had any thoughts on what an emerging solution, so to speak, or framework of a way forward around using biochar in those sort of applications on ag lands to make use of any sort of microbial performance that can be there, the sorption performance of biochar. Any thoughts on that? Because that's one of the things that just seems to us out there has got all the attention for a lot of real valid reasons, trying to clean those contaminants and rehabilitate agricultural lands.
Yeah, biosolids is definitely the hot topic these days. Everyone has kind of an interest in them and wants to know what's happening, and is there cause for concern around biosolids application? And it's a huge question. I think while there's a lot we know, there's a lot we do not know. And what is the role, right, of biochar within this? And so I'm actually been involved in a project for the past 3 years looking at biochar produced from biosolids. And part of this is that there's quite a bit of evidence. Largely, it has come out from Europe, in Norway at a research university in Norway, that the pyrolysis process eliminates these PFAS compounds, which is these polyfluoroalkyl alkyl substances. So these PFAS compounds, that's been a real concern for folks, these tens of thousands of human-made chemicals that are what people list as the forever chemicals. And so there's been some work showing that pyrolysis can effectively eliminate these up to 99.9% in the resulting biochar material. And so does that make then biochar produced from biosolids a much safer material for land application than just traditional biosolids? There are various at the federal level, the US EPA manages biosolids or regulates biosolids. Where I'm in New York State, the Department of Environmental Conservation regulates things. And so each state has slightly different potential regulations around biosolids and restrictions when it comes to land application, as well as monitoring and testing of it. But there is some biosolids application here in New York State. And there's an interim standard that has been created to try and quantify PFAS, or these forever chemicals, to try and limit their spread in the environment. And so there's a lot of promise in that actual biochar produced from biosolids eliminates the PFAS, but there's a lot of ongoing work in this area. And I think we're really in the infancy in the research world when it comes to biosolids and these forever chemicals. And then when it comes to kind of actual utilization of biochar itself as an absorber or for remediation within soil, I think once again there's a lot of promise that biochar can help reabsorb or capture contaminants in soils. But once again, I think we need a lot more research within this area. I don't think we have a absolute yes or no answer. Definitely not a silver bullet solution. As you mentioned, we know biochar has many co-benefits and can help with many things beyond soil health and remediation. But it isn't a silver bullet, right? No technology is a silver bullet, and we're thinking about biochar in addition to other remediation options.
Interesting. It's I kind of think about it it's got these various different benefits, along the way, that if you could somehow, find the scenario where the benefits can be stacked most effectively, then, that likely opens up market opportunities there pretty effectively. But the thing about biosolids is real interesting because it's to me, it's like yet another good use case, solving another problem by making, this material. So, one thing though, I do think, big believer on, the market pull, is always a great, indication for that something's working and people are finding value in it. Was just kind of curious also if you had any thoughts, kind of an ideal biochar project, so to speak, if you were to design, kind of the, a large, budget almost unlimited kind of scenario of, what would like, large trials to kind of answer some of these, questions around it, to acquire, fill in any data gaps. Just kind of curious what you think the best, show off all the attributes of biochar project might look like in the agricultural space.
Yeah, that's kind of like a dream project, unlimited resources. Oh, isn't that every kind of
You're probably not used to
researcher's
hearing
dream
that in,
out there?
academia. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Is it? Well, I mean, I probably have a bunch of things, but one area that I've really been working in or thinking about lately is actually this biosolid space and thinking about we have a continuous stream of waste that goes to wastewater treatment plants, and right there's thousands of wastewater treatment plants across the country. Many of them are outdated, and we need other solutions for processing this material in a safe way. And I think linking up pyrolysis facilities with wastewater treatment plants to produce biochar, with biochar that could potentially be safe for land application, and creating this circularity around kind of waste that we create and then putting it back out on the land, but treating it in a way where it is safe and sustainable, I think is really important. And I would love to see a large scale project within that space at a large wastewater treatment plant. I think that would be really innovative, and I think we need to be moving forward with projects like that in this country.
Oh, that's interesting. No, that's great to hear. Yeah, no, terrific. Well, you sort of any parting thoughts for it? We're really grateful for your time that you've put into the webcast with us here, Debbie. But any other parting thoughts that you can share with our audience about what would be yeah, if you were kind of ran the country for a day, what would be you could snap your
Oh,
fingers sort of thing. What would be the best kind of addition to change the biochar math out there in the marketplace?
no, I really think that, I mean, that's a huge, that's a loaded question there, Thor. But I really think um, awareness and interest into biochar continues to increase, and I think as people become aware of it and better understand its potential, I think they're realizing it can have a huge role in many different industries across the country and the world, and I think we need to stay open minded and kind of keep pushing biochar as a promising solution. It's not the only tool out there, but I think it's a um, very big one that can really play a significant role in climate solutions, in agricultural improvements, and in many other sectors.
That's great to hear. Yeah, we forget about all the different use cases for the material also even outside of agriculture. So, a great one to conclude the webcast today. Very grateful for your time, Debbie. Thank you very much for joining us today. Look forward to having you back for a future podcast on this. And thank you very much to our viewers for keeping up on our webcast, The Shift. We look forward to seeing you again for the next one.
Thank you.